This is a very difficult trigonometry question. And to be honest, the only reason that I can really figure this out is because I know the SAT so well. It's not so much that I'm really great at trigonometry, it's more that I'm just really good at knowing how trigonometry is tested on the SAT. And this is something that comes with practice and hopefully my videos. So let me start off with the basics. There are two things that we really should memorize for trigonometry on the SAT. Okay, so that's going to be our strategy. We got to just memorize some stuff. So first and foremost, we need to memorize SOHCAHTOA. And that is our mnemonic device that we use to remember that sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse, cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, blah, blah, blah. So it's a way of remembering what sine, cosine, and tangent mean. And for like 90% of trigonometry questions in the SAT, that's all you're going to need. But there is another 10%, and there's another formula. And so the way I tend to think about it is that if this SOHCAHTOA stuff doesn't work, then I need the other formula. And SOHCAHTOA really only works when we have right triangles and sides of right triangles, right? So it's a way of relating angles and sides. And first of all, I don't have triangles here. I could draw some. I could kind of turn these into right triangles by connecting some of these dots, but I'm still missing side lengths. There's no relationship here between A and B that's obvious. And so there's just like a lot of unknowns. And so that would trigger in me that I would write down the other formula, which is sine of x is equal to cosine of 90 minus x. And the reason that I kind of know once I write that down that I'm pretty close to figuring something out is that I see that the thing they give me, sine of a equals cosine of b, kind of starts to relate this. So let me show you here. I'm going to leave a little space and just write them kind of right on top of each other. And so what I'm noticing is that A basically is corresponding with X. And so I need to kind of connect B to A. And it's not that they're equal, it's that they're complementary, okay? So another way of now synthesizing the generic formula and the version that they gave me for this specific question is just to think about A as X, right? So sine of A is equal to cosine of 90 minus A. So I know this is confusing. So the key piece here is that I wrote down this other formula, all right? It's not just that I knew it, I wrote it down because I see the connection much better than I think about the connection. And so this is why showing your work is really important. So once I see it, I kind of see, all right, well, hold on a sec here. It kind of seems like there's a connection between A and B, and it's that B is equal to 90 minus A. And I said this before, they are complementary angles. In geometry terms, what's really happening is that the angle B is kind of like this angle right up in here, the other one in the triangle. And there's a lot of things we can do with SOHCAHTOA to prove that. This is already complicated enough though, so I'm just going to focus on what I have. This stuff I highlighted in pink is going to let me generate another equation, all right? That B is equal to sine, or sorry, oh, see, I'm getting confusing myself. B is equal to 90 minus A, right? That's basically what I said in pink, is that these two things that I'm taking the cosine of must be the same because of the way the formula works and because of the way that their information in yellow it works, the stuff that they've highlighted that they're giving me. So those two things, I'm mushing them together into one idea. And they've also given me non-trigonometry equations for A and B. And now regular old algebra is just going to take over because I can make some substitutions. And B equals 90 minus A doesn't mean a whole lot to me because there's two variables. There's nothing really I can do. But when I substitute in this stuff with K, suddenly I go from two variables to one. So I got to be really careful though because there's some opportunities for mistakes. So B is equal to 6K minus 13. And when I include A here, I have to remember that it's going to be in parentheses. So 4K minus 22. Because I'm subtracting this whole unit. And so I'm going to need to make sure I distribute. So this negative is going to distribute to both parts. So we're going to do 6K minus 13 equals 90 minus 4K plus 22. All right, that's important. And now it's just regular algebra. So let's go through some regular algebra. Let's add 4K to both sides. Let's add the 13 to the 90, and while we're at it, let's add in the 22. So we're going to end up with 10k is equal to 90 plus 13 plus 22, which is 125. And then to get k by itself, we divide by 10, and I don't even need the calculator for that. That is 12.5. And that is choice C, and that is the answer. This is very tough, and I want to stress what I said at the beginning, that if we memorize how trigonometry works in the SAT, we're going to be able to just use SOHCAHTOA most of the time. And so even if trigonometry isn't your favorite thing, I know that in school we learn a lot of formulas, but on the SAT we don't really need them. It's very straightforward. There's just a few things that they test, and so just stick to SOHCAHTOA and you're probably fine. If that doesn't work, this other formula is probably involved somehow, especially if you're relating sine and cosine, or you see a 90 somewhere. It probably helps. And so, as always with anything SAT related, write down what you know. Don't hold it in your head, because it's much easier to see the connections that you need to make if they're physically on the page. I do not think that I would have made this connection had I not written down this formula. Okay, so it's about writing it, connecting it to this other formula, seeing that there's some overlap, and just kind of letting your brain do its thing. But it's much easier if you can see it. This is very hard though, so don't worry if you struggle with this question. This might be a good one to skip so that you don't waste a lot of time struggling with this. There are better and easier points coming, so we're in the hard section of the test. Be a good judge of your own abilities. If you stink at this kind of stuff, that's okay. There's other stuff that you won't stink at coming, so you got to make sure you start picking battles and maximizing points. It's not about getting a perfect score always. It's about maximizing the points that you can get.